Do you need to pay tax on your solar export income? Now, it's a common worry amongst new solar owners. Many houses now are exporting energy and they're getting paid for it. And people assume that because it's income, it's therefore taxable. Last year in 2025, I exported over £1,000 worth of energy. Do I need to pay tax on that? Does HMRC expect me to declare it on my tax return? Well, today we're going to look at the official HMRC guidance and we're going to see if we can come to a conclusion. Now, I should say before we start this video, I am not a tax expert. I'm not an expert in anything. This video is just my interpretation of the guidance that is published on the HMRC website. If you have any questions about this, please seek professional financial advice. The last thing you want to do is to get on the wrong side of HMRC. So I'm going to use my real 2025 data, and just to be completely open and honest about this, I imported £1,143 worth of energy from Octopus last year. And they paid me £1,009 for the energy that I exported. So not quite 100%, but almost. But then they also gave me another £177 in benefits for things like referral credits or their eco coins or whatever they call them, which would have taken me over 100%. In fact, it gave me a credit of £43. Now, to the outsider, that looks like income. I've received over £1,000 worth of benefits that I've used to offset my energy bill, and that to most people doesn't look any different from income you might receive from stocks, shares, bonds, other ways that you can generate income from an investment. So, do we have to declare it? Well, no, but let's go into the details. So do we have to declare it? Well, let's take a look at the HMRC documentation and we'll see that HMRC treats domestic solar differently from other types of income. Now, the big misunderstanding here is that people think tax applies to any money that you make. Income is income. But HMRC specifically says that energy that you generate from your own domestic solar is treated differently. So it doesn't need to go on your tax return in the vast majority of cases. Now for this, we're going to look at two documents that are available on the web. They're in the HMRC Business Income Manual. Now, just because it's called a business income manual doesn't mean it only applies to businesses, and we'll see as we go in there. But the two documents that we're going to be interested in is BIM 40510 and BIM 40520. The first applies to domestic microgeneration, and the second actually details what we call the 20% domestic generation rule. Now, domestic microgeneration from HMRC's perspective is not normally taxed, so the vast majority of people do not need to worry about this. If your solar installation is mainly for your own use, it is on your own home or HMRC on or near your home, so assuming that means if you've got a ground mounted system that's in the grounds of your house, then you're covered as well. And that your export is just surplus energy. So you're not deliberately generating massively more than you would use with a plan to sell that to be able to generate income. And if you fall under those rules, then you're not being treated as running a business, and therefore you do not need to worry about your income from solar for a taxable purpose. Now, if you're generating significantly more than you use, then my recommendation is go talk to a tax accountant, because HMRC might want to take a look at it. Now, let's take a look at the two documents that I mentioned earlier on. And again, you can search these, and I will put links to these in the description below. But the first one is BIM 40510. And if we take a look at this document, it is called Specific Receipts, Domestic Microgeneration, Renewables Obligation and Feed-in Tariffs. There's a That just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? But in this, they go through the terms: what is microgeneration, renewables obligations, feed-in tariffs. But the bit we're specifically interested in is this paragraph here, and I'm going to read it directly from the document for you. It says, where the generation tariff is received by an individual other than in a business capacity, it is not chargeable as miscellaneous income. So let's just break that down for a moment. If you have a generation tariff that is received by you, i.e., it's paid directly to you through your energy account, then it is not treated as in a business capacity, and therefore it is not chargeable as miscellaneous income. No income tax liability will arise. That's the phrase you want to hear. No income tax liability will arise if you fulfill that requirement. This will usually be the case when an individual generates electricity mainly for their own home. Now, again, there's some wiggle room in there because they say mainly for your own home. Doesn't define what mainly means, but so long as the vast majority of what you generate is for your own home, your own use, to offset your own energy bill, it sounds like you'll be fine. Then it goes on to say, where an individual occupies premises for both private and business purposes, a generation tariff received in a business capacity will be a business receipt on normal principles. A generation tariff received in a private capacity, which is not chargeable as miscellaneous income. So if you are running your business from your home, so long as the income is coming into your personal bank account, not into your business bank account, then again, you should be okay. Now, we're going to jump across now to the other document, which is BIM 40520. So this one is entitled Specific Receipts, Domestic Microgeneration, Income Tax Exemption for Microgeneration. And I'm going to scroll down here because the paragraph we're interested in is right in the middle of that page, and it says, this exemption is aimed at domestic microgeneration, which is primarily intended to match the generator's own home consumption needs. So again, if you are generating the amount of energy that you need to offset your energy bill, you should be fine. The term significantly exceed in B above is not defined in section 782A and should be considered by reference to a particular customer's circumstances. However, in general, a householder who does not intend to generate an amount of electricity more than 20% in excess of their own domestic needs is unlikely to be regarded as intending to significantly exceed the amount of electricity consumed on their own premises. Let me simplify that. So long as you don't generate more than 120% of what you use, you will be classed as a microgenerator, and therefore you will not have to pay tax on this. So again, lots of words, a complete word soup, but so long as you're not generating 120% more than what you're being billed by your energy company, you should be fine. Now, even if you do fall outside of those, there is yet another safety net underneath that, and that is known as the £1,000 trading allowance. Every single person, subject to your own personal tax code and setup, but generally most people have a £1,000 trading income tax free allowance. That means if you make some interest on some money you keep in the bank, so long as it doesn't exceed £1,000, you don't have to pay interest on it. Now, this can be diminished if you're a higher rate or whatever they call the bonus rate taxpayer. For the vast majority of people, you still get that £1,000 tax-free allowance. So that means that so long as you might be generating 125% of your energy bill, so long as the bit above that doesn't go over £1,000, again, you should be absolutely fine. So in reality, almost nobody should be paying tax on their energy export. In my case, I imported £1,143 worth of energy. I exported £1,109. So I was just under that 100%. So I don't have to pay any tax on it. And this is one of the huge benefits of solar, is that any other type of income where you would generate a significant amount of money, you would have to pay tax on it. But not only are you not paying your energy bill, but you're not paying tax on it at the same time. Now, again, a reminder, I am not a tax consultant. So if you do have circumstances that are outside of this and you are worried about it, go talk to a tax consultant or a tax accountant. They will be able to reference all of these documents that are online. They will be able to model it and tell you whether or not you should be paying any tax. So who really should be paying tax on their solar income? Well, if you've got a relatively small house, but you maybe have a lot of land, maybe out in the horse paddocks, you've got 60 kilowatts of solar panels all on a ground mount out there, but you're only using a very small amount, then you would definitely be classed outside of the microgeneration rules, and you'd probably have to pay tax on your export from that system. Again, if you're largely overproducing for the purposes of sale of that electricity, then you will be classed as a commercial or business operation. If you are a landlord where your tenants are living in the property, but you're taking the export from the solar panels that are on the house, and then you're getting paid for that, you will probably need to pay tax on that because you are not living at that property. If you are arbitraging energy, this becomes a real grey area now because you're not generating that electricity, you're just making profits on buying and selling it, storing it in your batteries, and then selling it back to the grid at night. If you are arbitraging energy on a large scale, I would definitely go and talk to a tax accountant just to make sure that you don't fall underneath these rules. Anyone who's got their own solar farm? Anyone? Yeah, no, we don't have solar farms. If you have a solar farm, it will definitely be classed as a business, and therefore you will need to pay tax on that. So, in summary, export payments for 99% of us are not taxable. Most households don't need to worry about it. You don't need to declare it on your tax return. And the real win here isn't that you're offsetting your energy bill. It's that you're not having to buy as much energy in the first place. So yes, you can make a little bit of money to offset your winter bills, and you don't need to worry about it. You won't need to worry that HMRC are going to come knocking on your door. I hope that clears the muddy waters around this just a little bit. As I say, I'm not a tax accountant. Please, please, please take professional advice if you have complex tax affairs. But hopefully that's cleared things up, that most of us don't need to worry about paying tax on our solar export. With that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. It means the world to me. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you back here real soon for another video. Take care. Bye-bye.